Hello, everyone, and welcome to our community call and Ask Me Anything session. This week, we are focusing on verification levels, which I personally think there's a lot of misunderstanding in the community about the verification levels on BrightID and how it actually works out. And let me make Mono a co-host so he has some access too. I'm gonna start by something that we are experiencing in the connection parties and the misconception that on BrightID people come join the connection party and they are verified forever for all applications, and that's basically not true. One of the things that we always tell people is the fact that you're not getting verified forever for every application. What is happening is that you are getting verified at this stage for a certain number of applications that are using this the method of verification. And I'm not sure, and I want to open this conversation by posing this question: that are we is it right to call it connect verification levels or verification methods? Because I'm not sure if it's like a lower level going up and higher. What I'm understanding is that it's rather different types of verifications. It's not like one above the other one, building on top of the other one. It's rather I take it and verify a user based on these behaviors that I expect from the user for my application or for my algorithm. And some other application might use another the algorithm that is observing and checking different sets of behaviors. But why are we calling it levels if it's like that?
It's both. Well, the reason why we started calling it levels is that it's possible for an application to have multiple levels within the application. So you could imagine that. So let's say that Figment Learn has some quests that you can do that maybe don't pay out quite as much, and they're fine if you just use the basic connection, the basic verification level you could get from a connection party. And maybe there's another payout that you could get, but maybe for that you have to also have a connection to someone within their community. So you have to come to the Figment Learn community, make a connection there. So it's quite possible to do that, and that's why we call it levels. You also asked some other questions, so I'm going to answer more of your questions, and then we can continue from there. But you also said people are confused about that they get verified. They think they're going to get verified once, and it's like one and done. It's actually healthy for verifications to expire. And what does that mean? That means that once they expire, you have to relink. And some apps already do this, like One Hive Faucet, Rare Coin Claims, require you to relink to make sure that you're still verified, that someone hasn't stolen your account or whatever. And when I say stolen your account, I don't mean stolen your BrightID account. I mean stolen your account that you have linked. So let's say you linked an Ethereum address and that Ethereum address got compromised. That's out of the hands of BrightID. And now you need a way to tell that app, hey, this Ethereum address is no longer valid. So to do that, one way that we facilitate that is we allow verifications to expire so that the attacker that got control of it can only use it for a limited time, and then it's over, and then that BrightID user can relink another one, and get an up-to-date verification. And it's also useful if at some future point, I think this will come into play more once we have our Aura game, which you guys don't know about yet, but they'll be launching before too long for kind of like just probably just a closed beta, closed set of people who want to try it out. But anyways, Aura is sort of an advanced game that allows more data than just the very simple data that you can provide with the BrightID reference app, how you can select like already known, suspicious, or just met. Aura gives you a lot more levels that you can assign to people, and it's kind of for power users. But the point is, let's say that you were verified, and then someone in Aura that has like a lot of Aura power comes in and says, "Nah, you're like, no, this part of the graph that you're a part of is very suspicious, and so you are now temporarily downgraded." Well, the apps need to know that, and so if the app has a verification that expires, then that you might actually go away. Like if you're part of this civil region, your ability to use that app with that account might go away. And hopefully this doesn't affect too many legitimate users, and it only affects civil accounts. I would expect that it should be pretty rare for a person to get unverified. I think maybe the thing that might get you unverified is maybe maybe I guess it would be you're hanging out in the wrong crowd. Like if all your friends are civils, and maybe the community that you went to get verified was like launching a civil attack or something like that, then maybe it's time to get some new friends that are honest, and you'll get verified that way. But for the most part, like especially if you're connecting to multiple communities as a backup, like someone like Philip is probably like a member of like 20 communities. And so like one community getting marked as bad is not going to remove his verification.
Right. So I'm not going to lose my verification. Someone that just came in, did the minimum, got verified for something, and then a few months later, that application says, "Oh, we don't want to use this like base level anymore. We want to use a higher level." And that person they only ever did BrightID things once. Like they're going to need to work harder at that point. They could lose that verification, but it's only because they didn't do much in the first place. We expect that if people put in work to get verified and do make connections to various parts, that if you're legit, it should be enough to keep it. It's either going to be the bad actors, people connected closely to bad actors, or people that just put in very low effort to begin with.
Yeah, so that's what I would tell people in the connection parties, like go do your homework. Like we need to give them some homework assignments. We said, okay, you got the basic verification level here right now. We got you started, but you're not done. There's more homework to do. If you really want to, like if you want to be verified for future apps, you need to go out and make some connections to other communities. Or if you want to protect against, I don't know, against getting downgraded because you were connected to civils or something. It's hard to get downgraded below level 0, but anyways. But also another piece of homework is go make some stronger connections. Like go get some people that you really already know and connect to them. Especially go set up some social recovery connections, because in the future it may be that an app raises their standards. So it could be that, okay, right now maybe what you've got is working for rare coin claims, but maybe maybe next month they decide, okay, well, we're going to actually up our standards, and so you would become unverified for that app if you didn't do some more work. Does that help? Paslar, are you still there? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the other one would be being flagged and reported by like a certain number of users. That's something else that is gonna unverify you on a level.
Yeah, if you want to protect yourself against people making mistakes about like how they flag you, make a lot of connections with a lot of different people, because that way if a couple people are wrong about you, chances are you'll still be verified.
Also, I was going to say that with the coming of sort of the Aura game and and other things we imagine in the future, that there will be incentives to make the graph right, either to get new people that are not verified to be verified, or to get people that should not be verified to lose that verification. And there'll be incentives for people that like want to make that an important task that they take seriously, and if they're good at it, will be incentivized to do that action. So that maybe that if you don't want to be deeply involved, you don't have to, because there's other people that are incentivized to figure it out for you.
Yep. And we hope that everyone will be able to, as the graph expands, be able to make connections, even if they themselves aren't a power user, be able to make connections to a power user that can really boost their score for verifications.
Rohek asked a question that I'm not sure I fully understand, but he says, I read somewhere, and I don't remember where, but BrightID should be checked again. Is that true? I don't know what he means by
What does that mean?
checked again.
I guess he's meaning to in yesterday in rare claims, you will get unverified. You need to verify again, like re-verify it.
Right.
It's like something that they should do like frequently, like on a regular basis. Is that
Yeah, you
true?
might have to relink. Yeah, so I would call it, we call it linking. So yes, that's what I mean, is that your verification might expire, and the way that you bring it up to date is you relink. You don't have to make the connections again. You just have to relink, and it should be pretty fast. It should take just 2 seconds to relink and update your verification. Yeah, the application should provide a link for you to do that, either a link that you click or something that you scan. And that's how you relink your verification and bring it up to date.
You said you mentioned the homework for the users, and I really like that idea personally. That, like, of course, showing up to connection parties might not necessarily be something that people wanna do frequently, but something that the users do outside of connection parties just by themselves. Uh, of course, the social recovery comes to mind as a really meaningful homework that people can do. But I wonder what other homework or activities that users can do by themselves without having to show up in a connection party or something of it, or a gathering. What other activities do you have in mind that people can do? Is that like something that has to do with Aura as well?
Yeah, it does. So you can play around with Aura, although I don't think that has to be homework for everybody, people who are curious about it. But I would say something that will help you in the future. And this is one of those things where the more people that do it, the more it helps. But if you go to people that you actually know in real life, because what you're doing there is you're building the better part of the graph. Because right now I look at the graph, and unfortunately I have to say that most of the BrightID graph is kind of I'm sorry to say this, but it's kind of garbage, because it's like these just met connections. It's not as low quality as like Facebook or something like that, because we decided we couldn't use the Facebook graph because the connections are just so low quality there, because you get like a bunch of spam connections in your inbox, and who knows who you're connecting to. So it's not that bad, but still, coming and connecting to like a host that you've known for 5 minutes in a BrightID call is nowhere near the same level as like connecting to a family member. So when I say homework, like, you need to go make some stronger connections. And if everybody starts doing that, we can build up a graph of like really high quality connections that can then be used for higher verification levels. So that's what I encourage people to do. And I was hoping that social recovery would be kind of like an impetus for that, but I've honestly, I've been noticing that people are still struggling with getting that done. Like I thought that it would be pretty easy for people to set up social recovery. I mean, it is easy, but I think maybe it's just human nature. It's like you do the least amount of work that you can do. And so like, I didn't like doing homework when I was in school. I would mostly just go to class and like, if I couldn't get it done in class, I would be like, I'm gonna go play with my friends. I don't want to do my homework. So I don't know, maybe we can make it more like playing with your friends. I don't know exactly how to do that, but make it less like tedious homework and more like doing something that you would do anyway. But you need to go out, you need to go out and you need to make some social recovery connections if we want BrightID to be really strong.
And it's way more fun in person. You know, it's been unfortunate that sort of COVID lined up with sort of BrightID getting usage, because when we've done it in person, people actually enjoy the act. The act of connecting on BrightID in person is fun. People smile and laugh, and you know it's fine. It's fine over Zoom, but it's not fun. But it is like when the conference scene gets going again and people are there live, like, you know, a few people start doing it and other people are like, oh, what are you doing with your phones? And then like they want to get in on it too. So it'll be more fun, and that's what we imagined early on. We never imagined connection parties as that didn't exist. Connection parties were, oh shit, we've got a problem, we need to help a bunch of people get onboarded. What do we do? Connection parties were not part of the BrightID plan.
Adam, would it be possible to require a user to have already set up recovery connections in order to use an app as like a sort of pseudo verification level?
Yeah, that's already possible. No app so far has opted into that. I think apps right now, and I think the reason for that is because apps right now, they say, okay, well, we see the value in social recovery, but it's not going to help us right now. Like apps are also kind of short-sighted, just like people are. They're like, okay, it's not going to help us right now to keep Sibyls out if we require social recovery, because a Sybil can set up social recovery with like other Sibyls. And so they're missing like the longer term picture of, okay, yes, but if we encourage people to make stronger connection levels or stronger connections with each other, then we get like this new graph of stronger connections that we can then use. So I guess there still is friction on that.
Yeah, I think like I tried getting my family members to sign up, but they're just not interested in the apps that are there now, so they don't want to. I think that's part of the difficulty, that as soon as there's a really nice app they really want to use, then it's no problem at all. Then it's very easy. So I think that when there's like lots of apps that are really interesting, then it will be really easy to connect, make really personal connections.
Yep, I completely agree. Good, very good point.
I'll also point out, so most of these apps now, when we suggest like having higher levels, they're like, it's like this is already a kind of a high hurdle for our users. We don't want to make it harder. We had a conversation with one application just the other day, Adam and I, and they were like, yeah, we want to make it a hurdle. Like that's totally fine, because we want to give something of real value here. We want to make sure that they're not only that they're unique, but like that they want to engage enough in the community for this to make sense. So they're perfectly happy with being a high hurdle. And great. Like,
yeah, so someone asked a really interesting question here. Humpty Calderon asked, what about bounties to challenge people to make better connections? We've definitely thought about this. And I would say that we have to be delicate here. We've been very careful with helping people to be accurate with how they assess the connection level. And right now everyone's doing a really good job. Like people are marking someone suspicious if they're suspicious. If they weren't expecting them to show up as a connection, they'll mark them as suspicious. If they just met, they'll mark them as just met. If they already know, they mark them as already known. So this is, people are getting it. They're doing it correctly. I worry about, and I've seen this in proof of humanity. It scares me a little bit when I see in proof of humanity that people are like selling, and proof of humanity is apparently doing nothing to stop this. But there's a marketplace for vouches where it's like, yeah, you pay me some money and I'll vouch for you. And I don't know, I mean, so proof of humanity has kind of an advanced staking game, which is pretty cool. So there is a lot of, like, these people are taking a risk, but I guess that they're like making an economic decision there. Does the risk outweigh the reward? And they're saying, yeah, like, I'll take a risk on you and vouch for you. But we need to be careful that in something like BrightID, that if we incentivize already known connections, that people just don't like just start like connecting with attackers. I mean, that's what you really don't want. You don't want people to be social engineered, basically bribed into making a connection because they're getting an economic reward. So I would love to do it, but we have to be very, very clever with how we do it so that we don't incentivize the wrong kind of behavior too. Okay, I see some other questions here. Do connections ever expire or go stale? Yes, we covered that earlier. They do, some of them do expire, and then you just have to reconnect. And I think that's healthy for them to expire. The reason I gave was because if an attacker compromises not the BrightID, but the application ID, like an Ethereum address or something, by allowing it to expire, they can reconnect with a different one.
But maybe the question is about that it's the connection with the app, but maybe do the connections with other people, they never expire, do they?
Yeah, connections with other people never expire. However, an interesting thing that I don't think anyone's used yet, but it could be used in a verification method or an analysis method, is the timestamps get updated whenever you make a connection with someone. So you can keep your connections fresh just by reconnecting with someone. But yeah, like I said, that hasn't been used yet that I know of.
I had a thought about kind of an extra layer of civil resistance with like an in-app action to kind of like check a heartbeat. Because I imagine like a part of creating a Sybil network is like you might use the same device to like, delete the BrightID app, get a new BrightID app, create a new thing, connect with another person, and then, use the same device over and over again. But if you had like a prompt, like a even a basic kind of CAPTCHA in the app to be like, yes, I'm here, I'm still human, like, and you need to like, check it once a week or something like that. Like, would that add an additional layer of kind of like to prevent botnets kind of thing?
I like that. I think so far that's been done outside of BrightID, and it seems to be working okay outside of BrightID. So that is sort of a way to slow down bots, maybe, especially if it involves linking back with the BrightID. But really, I mean, so the thing about the botnets is they're making new accounts, right? And so it's more about like, can they spin up an account and within a short amount of time have it already already usable for BrightID. So if you look at other solutions like Proof of Humanity and Dunitor, they typically have like it takes a pretty long time to get registered. And so that slows down bot attacks right there. A heartbeat is more like, I don't know, when I think of a heartbeat, I think of like an actual heartbeat. Like that's how you could tell if someone died. if they haven't touched their BrightID in a year or something, maybe it means that they actually, or they don't care anymore. So, but does that doesn't seem, it seems like you could do that from the app level, or maybe I'm missing something. Is there something that, some benefit you would get that you couldn't get from?
Yeah, so I'm thinking like once you create a BrightID account and then you go to a verification or a connection party rather, and you get verified, now you have that in perpetuity. You don't ever have to log into that app again. You don't ever have to log into that BrightID ID again.
Okay, I get it. So it's more of a convenience for the users.
Yeah, so
to avoid this relinking step.
So if you already have, if you have a BrightID already on your phone, then you don't have to like switch it as a bot user, or you don't have to go in again and like say anything. You don't have to like go and click a button even, but you can just use that BrightID linked account on, you know, on all the different faucets that are provided, right? But if you had to like do an action actually physically on the phone, that would kind of create a bit of a bottleneck for the more bots that you have. Like you have to do this other action.
Yeah, so right now you have to relink your account, which I guess that can be automated. So that doesn't really slow down the bots. And so you're suggesting add something into the app that only a human can do, like a CAPTCHA, to the relinking process. But the way I could see it even being more convenient rather than less convenient is, let's say that you had a CAPTCHA in the app that you had to solve, and then once you solve that, it like broadcasts out to all the apps that you're linked to that your verification has been updated.
Exactly.
That way you don't have to. That way you don't have to. If you're verified for 10 apps, you don't have to keep relinking 10 or 20 different apps every day or every whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that would be good, because it would make it. I mean, that's exactly what we're looking for. Things that make it easier for people and harder for bots. So I think that's exactly what it would do. So I like that idea. I think that's great. You should record that somewhere, either a forum post or a GitHub issue or something. Record that idea so we don't lose track of it, because I like it.
It's recorded on this episode, but yeah, we'll have to.
Well, yeah, but
put up an issue
in written format so that someone will, someone like me will read it again and remember. Oh yeah, we should build that.
I want to ask what verification levels are currently active. How many different methods do we have? I know about the zero level verification, so to speak, that most apps are using. I know about Figment Learn, that users are required to join a regular connection party and also a connection party on Figment Learn, and I'm done. Do we have any other verification level that some app is using at the moment?
There's a custom one that Dollar for Everyone is using, which hasn't even launched yet. So it's kind of funny to say that they're using it because it hasn't launched. But the verification piece is working, but the app hasn't launched. But they just say, okay, here's a list of people, and you need to connect to someone from this list. So it actually operates very similar to like a seed group connection. So that's one that we found that's a pretty common one, where it's like, okay, you have to come to our community. Any application.
I think we'll see a lot of that.
And I think it's healthy too. It's healthy for them and it's healthy for us.
Like these are the people, and here's where they hang out, like on a regular basis. Come and make connections to them.
It's that you don't have to trust, that group doesn't have to trust like the whole BrightID system. They don't have to believe in connection parties. It's simply, have you come and talked to us? We are the determinants of whether you should be validated for this application. So like I could totally imagine that in like in Discord channels. It's like, The fact that you went to a connection, a public BrightID connection party, that doesn't mean anything to us. You could scam that. But if you have to come and talk to us here in this Discord group,
At the same time, it opens some doors to, like, if it's permissioned and like there's a decider somewhere.
right, but that's up to them. And it's great that BrightID can be the completely permissionless, decentralized system that nobody controls, or it can be that super. I only want this for me. Like, you got to be in my sphere for this to work. But both of those actions still add to the network. It's all accretive to BrightID as a whole.
Yeah, and I will say that, so those are the only ones that exist now. But the one that, I mean, this is the one that I created BrightID with this in mind, and it's a little frustrating that it doesn't exist yet. But what I was hoping is that there would be these strong connection levels, that you're mostly connecting with people that you already know, and then that's when it's transitive. So I don't have to directly connect to someone, although this isn't a problem for me because I am directly connected to so many of these communities. But let's say my mom, right? My mom doesn't have to go to and join like the One Hive community connection party or whatever. She just is connected to me and maybe like a couple other people, and because of how they're connected and the structure of the graph means that she becomes verified, and she's not, she doesn't look like a Sybil that I just created myself because of how she's connected. But unfortunately, what we learned was that these just met connections don't function well that way, because it's just too easy. It would be too easy for an attacker just to go off on their own and create Sybils. And with a just met connection, it's not. It doesn't look like. Yeah, it would be too easy for them to, for instance, like spam out connections and make like just met connections with other people that they barely know and do some social engineering. For instance, if you came to a like BrightID connection party, people are connecting to each other, making just met connections. So that's, someone could come in there and basically Sybil attack that connection party, which people have, but it would make it even worse if we used like a transitive trust on the just met connections, because then they could go home and make some more Sybils too. So, but with stronger connection levels, people are really unlikely to connect and on an already known level with someone who's like Sybil attacking a connection party, or Sybil attacking somewhere else, or like spamming out connections to people on Discord, or however they might do it. People are very unlikely to assign that type of connection an already known. So what my ideal is that we have a graph of these already known connections, and then we can go more than just one hop. We can go several hops, which our graph analysis can do, but we've nobody wants to use it because nobody can get verified that way right now. So we need to make it so that people can actually get verified that way. And really, I think what we've learned is the graph has to kind of fill out. People just need to, like Han was saying, there need to be more compelling apps. It's kind of like this chicken and egg problem where you've got to have more people already using it for this type of this level of verification to be able to exist. So we're trying to figure out how we can bootstrap that. We're still trying to figure out how we can bootstrap that. And I think that's part of this social experiment. The growth, like the steady state, is pretty easy for me to imagine. Like it's pretty easy for me to imagine a world where you're kind of born into BrightID, and your mom and dad connect to you, and your brothers and sisters connect to you, and they already have connections that they made during their lifetime, and everything just works fine. But this growth phase is tricky, and we're like trying to figure out how to manage that.
There is a number of questions there. I want to make sure that I'm going through all of them. Bitsy
Oh yeah,
got
so I want to answer one that Han said, because this is
Mm.
interesting, and we've thought about this one, just kind of like a presentation, like a UI thing. So let's say that an app has more than one level, because right now you've got the apps tab and it says verified for this app. How would it show up if there's more than one level for that app? We don't have a way to display that right now, but I think it would exactly like what you said. Instead of saying verified, it would say verified level 1 or verified level 2. I think that those words would actually make sense if we had that in there. So we could have that. We just haven't built it yet. I mean, I can see that working. We just haven't built it yet. Okay, so I'm going to answer some other questions. There will be 2 kinds of levels. I mean, one for BrightID and one for each project working with BrightID. Yeah, each app gets to define its own level. It just happens that right now, most of them choose the lowest level because they're not convinced of either of the higher level. Either it's going to take too long, or it's not going to. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take the benefits outweigh the cost outweighs the benefit. So it seems like it's going to add more effort for the user. So in the example of the social recovery, like it's going to help our network if we kind of force users to do social recovery, but no app has taken that up yet. But yes, an app could choose to take that up, and then there would be a different level for that app that wouldn't be the same one. So you would do your basic BrightID level, and you'd see, oh, there's still some apps that I'm not verified for. What do I have to do to get those? And then we need a good way to communicate to users. Right now, we leave it up to the apps, but really, we want like a really nice way of communicating to the users. Like, okay, you want to get verified for this app? Well, here's what you're missing. Like, you still need to do this. But kind of what we do, if you look at achievements, if you look in achievements and you do everything that's in the achievements, you're already getting a head start on. I mean, I would want to include anything in here in these achievements that would be something that would get you verified for any level that any app would come out with. So if I would say if an app comes out with a stronger verification level, I would put in the achievements anything that you might have to do, I would put it in here so that people know to do that. I don't see what I think would be a good achievement that I don't see in here is connect to another community, like find another BrightID community and connect to it, which we can track that easily in BrightID. So that would be a fun kind of like achievement to earn.
I would also say that, right now most apps use sort of this one, which internally we don't think is that great. In the future, I think somebody's going to come out with another level. Maybe that's Aura or something like it, and then a bunch of apps will be like, okay, we're gonna use that one, and there'll be a nexus of applications that use one. And in the long run in BrightID, I imagine most apps will use just a small number of verifications that are kind of like the tried and true ones. And there'll be some weird bespoke stuff on the side, but even the bespoke stuff will probably, use the big ones as like the base. So the base is you need to get an adequate Aura score, and then you also need to come connect to some people in our community or something like that to get the big benefits. But yeah, once we have a good competing alternate verification standard, and it's easy and it's understandable and it's got good UI, I think a lot of applications will happily move to it. Right now, we're like, oh, maybe do you want to be the guinea pig of something new? And they're like, no, I do not want to. But once we can be like, here it is, it's fully baked, 6 other applications are already using it, and it's distinctly better. Do you want to use it? And they'll be like, oh, yes, I do.
That makes sense. Yeah. But like if I like Adam mentioned that like in the achievements list give like go make a connection to another community. I think it should be detailed and like practical, like these are the communities and like go try these. But just saying that okay, there are other communities, go find one, make a connection to them, doesn't make like it wouldn't be helpful. I think people give up a lot. The other thing before and I hope it's not so much off topic is the fact that BrightID is not Web3 exclusive. BrightID is supposed to work with Web2, Web3, and like and Han mentioned that like there are people in his family and friends that are not interested in BrightID because they're not going to use it for anything. And I think that has to do with the fact that we're just using it for Web3 products at the moment. I think one product that is not Web3 would be the top-up gifter that like gives like like I think to some countries top up for their mobile phones. But like the more the web 2 or like real life the traditional use cases that we find for BrightID, the more people are gonna use it, because right now our family and friends aren't interested in using anything in web3 maybe. But if we can say okay, use BrightID, you're gonna get a cup of free coffee, then let's install the app and let's try it. Why not?
Yeah, so we need to find a coffee shop. It's gonna be
Yeah.
the guinea pig for that.
We should work. We should work with Starbucks maybe. Like,
Starbucks.
have we
coffee
reached
from here.
out? Yes.
Doesn't Circles have a coffee shop in Berlin?
I'm pretty sure they have something like that. Yeah.
I think they have a coffee shop that specifically accepts Circles in exchange for the coffee.
Okay, that's interesting.
Now, obviously, it'd be better if
coffee.
you could get some.
It's been the dream of several people to merge trust lines, Circles, and BrightID into like one connection. So you make one connection and you're connected on all 3 of those platforms. So if someone does that, then hey, it's like, make a connection on BrightID or Circles or whatever. It's all the same thing. And then go get your free cup of coffee. And then maybe at least more people in Berlin who aren't like Ethereum nerds will start using BrightID.
Yeah. Cool. Have we covered all questions? I think we did. And yes. So if there are no other questions Carlos has a question or not? You're on mute, man.
Just saying goodbye to Jorin.
Jordan went to feed this squirrel. Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. Cool. I want to thank everyone for the nice conversation. I think this was an interesting topic, and like we can go on and talk more about it, but I think this is a good point to put a dot at the end of the sentence at the moment. I will stop recording, and thank you everyone for being a part of this. After I stop recording, we can do a group connection together just in case anyone who is trying to do that. And we are, do you want to stop recording?